Kira the elf stood at the edge of the forest, her emerald eyes scanning the horizon. The twin dragons, Spark and Ember, curled around her ankles, their scales glimmering in the fading light. She had traveled far from her homeworld to this strange blue planet called Earth. Elves were known across the galaxy as superior beings. Their advanced technology and thousand-year lifespans made them look down upon younger species, especially humans whom they considered primitive and emotional. Yet here was Kira seeking their help. Her sister Lyra was dying back home. A rare disease spread through their clan, leaving many weakened. Kira had exhausted all options within elf medicine. The only cure grew exclusively on Earth, a planet elves avoided due to its chaotic, unpredictable inhabitants. The healing plant called Sunburst grew only in human territories. Kira needed to trade something valuable enough to convince these primitives to help her. Yet she carried nothing except her dragons and her pride. The latter would have to be sacrificed. Kira approached the human settlement, lights twinkling against the darkening sky. Her dragons hissed, sensing her nervousness. The elders had warned about humans, their unpredictable nature, their tendency toward violence, but also whispered stories of their surprising compassion. A human female appeared at the settlement edge. Kira scanned the universal translator attached to her wrist, preparing formal diplomatic language. The human saw her immediately, gasped at her pointed ears and the miniature dragons. "Hello," the human said, her voice soft. "I am Beth." Kira stood tall. "I seek medicine for my dying sister. I can offer service or trade." Beth tilted her head, studying the strange visitor. "You have dragons. They are bonded to me. They serve as companions and protection," Kira explained. Beth invited Kira inside her dwelling. A simple structure, nothing like the crystal spires of elf cities yet. Somehow warm, inviting. The dragons sniffed curiously at unfamiliar scents. Kira explained her quest, described the sunburst plant, showing holographic images from her wrist device. Beth nodded recognition. "That grows in abundance near the river. We consider it a weed. Most farmers destroy it." Hope surged through Kira. "Can you help me obtain some?" Beth smiled. "I can take you tomorrow. It grows on my land." Kira waited for the negotiation. The demand for payment. "Do you not wish compensation?" she asked. Beth looked confused. "Why would I charge someone trying to save their sister?" Kira struggled to process this. Elven society operated on strict exchange, nothing freely given. In fact, she had come prepared to offer years of service, perhaps even one of her precious dragons as payment. Beth prepared food, shared her home with the stranger and her unusual pets. The human asked questions about elf culture, listened with genuine interest. She spoke of human customs, their belief in helping others without expectation. This concept felt alien to Kira, whose people measured worth through possessions and power. Beth showed Kira pictures of her family, her friends talking about connections that seemed to hold no strategic advantage yet clearly brought her joy. As night fell, Kira sat by a window watching stars appear, the same stars visible from her homeworld, yet somehow different here. The dragons curled in her lap, sleeping soundly. Trusting this strange environment, Beth approached, offering a warm drink. This human showed kindness without reason. Kira wondered if this was a clever negotiation tactic, yet could find no evidence of deception. The night passed peacefully. Kira slept in a guest room, her first rest in many cycles. The dragons kept watch beside her bed, their small bodies alert to any threat. Morning came with golden light streaming through windows. Beth was already awake, preparing food smells that made the dragons chirp with interest. Kira joined her, trying to understand this human and her motivations. After eating, Beth led Kira outside. The land around the dwelling stretched green and lush. Nothing like the crystalline landscapes of home, yet beautiful in its wild unpredictability. Beth pointed to a path. "We will find your sunburst plants this way. They grow along the riverbank." Kira followed her dragons, flying ahead, excited by open space and new scents. They traveled through meadows past trees that reached toward sky, so different from the metallic forests of home. Beth spoke as they walked, telling stories of Earth of humans. Of their history, Kira listened, learning more about these creatures her people dismissed as primitive. She began to see complexity in their simplicity, wisdom in their emotions. The dragons sensed her changing mood, flying close in curiosity ahead. The land sloped downward, a ribbon of water visible in the distance. Sunlight reflected off its surface, reminding Kira of the sacred pools in elven temples. They approached the riverbank, and there, growing in clusters, were the golden plants. Kira had traveled across stars to find sunburst, their petals glowing with internal light energy that could heal her sister, save her people. Beth gestured toward them. Take what you need. They grow back quickly. Kira knelt beside the plants, her fingers trembling as she carefully harvested stems and roots. The dragons landed beside her, sensing the importance of the moment. Kira filled her pack with plants, more than she had hoped to find. She turned to Beth, her voice thick with emotion. I must repay you. This debt is too great. Beth shook her head, smiling. There is no debt between friends. This concept shook Kira to her core. Friends without obligation, without contract. The dragon sensed her confusion, chirping softly, landing on her shoulders, in support. Beth waited, patient, giving Kira time to process this strange new idea. They returned to Beth's dwelling, the pack, heavy with healing plants. Kira still struggling with the concept of unearned kindness. The dragons flew ahead, eager to return to safety. The sun began its descent, painting the sky in colors that reminded Kira of festivals back home. Festivals she might now see again with her sister by her side, thanks to this human, this Beth who gave without taking, EOF. The night before Kira was to leave Earth, Beth hosted a small gathering. Several humans came to meet the elf visitor, each bringing food, drink, stories. Kira sat stiffly at first, uncomfortable with such casual interaction. The dragons hid in her silver hair, peering out with suspicious eyes at the newcomers. One human named Lily brought sweet bread that the dragons quickly developed a taste for. Another, called Rose, showed pictures of her travels across Earth, landscapes Kira had never imagined. Humans asked questions about space, about elf culture, about the dragons. Kira answered carefully at first, then with growing ease. Their curiosity seemed genuine, their interest sincere. A young human child approached cautiously, asking to touch a dragon. Kira hesitated, protective of her companions. The smaller dragon, Ember, chirped softly, then flew to land on the child's outstretched palm. The room fell silent as the dragon and child regarded each other. Then the child giggled as Ember nuzzled her finger. The dragons had never allowed such contact with strangers. As the evening progressed, Kira found herself laughing, joining conversations. The stiffness in her posture melted away. The dragons, too, grew bolder, flying among the humans, accepting gentle touches, treats. The concept of friendship without obligation began to take root in her understanding. She watched Beth interact with her friends, saw the joy in their connections, the strength they drew from each other. Nothing like the strategic alliances of elf society. When the gathering ended, the humans each embraced Beth, thanked her for the evening. To Kira's surprise, several hugged her as well, the physical contact startling but not unpleasant. The dragons received careful pets, gentle scratches behind their horns. After everyone left, Kira helped Beth clean the dwelling. Feeling strange comfort in the simple task, Beth spoke of her friends, shared stories of their connections. The dragons curled on a cushion, watching with sleepy eyes. Beth asked about Kira's journey home, scheduled for the following day. The plants safely stored in preservation containers. Kira explained the process, the ship waiting in orbit, the return to her world. Beth looked sad at the thought of Kira's departure. The dragons sensed the shift in mood, flew to land on Beth's shoulders, a gesture of affection they rarely showed even to Kira. I wish you could stay longer, Beth said. I have enjoyed knowing you. Kira felt an unexpected ache at the thought of leaving. This brief connection with a human had changed something fundamental within her. Morning arrived too quickly. Kira gathered her belongings, the precious containers of healing plants. The dragons sensed the importance of the day, flying in excited circles. Beth prepared a final meal, shared it quietly with Kira. When time came to leave, Beth walked Kira to the edge of her land where the elf had first appeared days ago. The dragons flew ahead, then back, unwilling to move too far from either female. Kira turned to Beth, struggling to find words adequate for this moment. In elf custom, I would offer payment for your help, but you have taught me humans have different ways. Beth smiled, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Friends help each other without expecting payment. Remember us when you look at Earth from your home. Kira nodded, unable to speak. She reached out, touched Beth's hand, a gesture she had never initiated with any being outside her family. The dragons landed, one on each female shoulder, creating a bridge between them. With final goodbye, Kira activated her transport device. The dragons clung tightly to her as light surrounded them. Beth's figure faded, the last image, her smile, her raised hand in farewell. The journey back to her ship was instant, yet Kira felt changed by the brief time on Earth. The dragons chirped, excited to be returning to familiar territory, yet somehow reluctant to leave the blue planet behind. The journey home took several cycles, the dragons restless in the confined space of the ship. Kira spent time processing her experiences, the unexpected lessons learned from humans from Beth. She prepared her report for the Elven Council, knowing her findings would challenge their perceptions. The dragons sensed her thoughtfulness, staying close, offering comfort in their silent way. They too had been changed by Earth, by the humans who treated them with gentle respect. Her homeworld appeared through the viewport, crystal cities glittering against violet skies. The dragons pressed against the window, chirping with recognition. Kira felt strange seeing it now. Through human eyes, the beauty remained, but also the coldness, the rigid structures, both physical and social. The ship landed in the central port, officials waiting to receive her. The dragons flew close to her shoulders, protective, sensing her unease. The healing plants were taken immediately to medical facilities. Kira's sister already prepared for treatment. Kira was allowed brief visit before being summoned to council. Lyra lay pale against white sheets, her once vibrant eyes dim with illness. The dragons landed beside her, chirping softly. Lyra smiled weakly at them. At her sister. You returned, she whispered. I never doubted. Kira took her hand, told her of Earth, of humans, of Beth. Lyra listened, strength returning to her eyes with each word. The dragons curled beside her, offering warmth, comfort. The council summoned. Kira demanded her report. The dragons remained with Lyra, unwilling to leave. Her side, Kira stood before the 12 elders, their ancient faces showing no emotion. She spoke of Earth, of humans, of their generosity. She described Beth, the help given without expectation of return. The council members exchanged glances, their disbelief evident. One elder spoke. This cannot be true. All beings seek advantage. There must be hidden motive. Kira stood firm in her account, challenging centuries of elven belief. The treatment began for Lyra, for others affected by the disease. The sunburst. Plants worked quickly, healing damage, restoring strength. Kira visited daily, bringing dragons who refused to leave Lyra's side. Lyra asked more about Earth, about humans. Their generosity fascinated her as it had Kira. The council continued questioning, Kira demanding explanations she could not give. How explain human kindness to beings who measured all relationships in terms of power advantage? As days passed, more elves heard Kira's story. Curiosity spread, questions arose. The council grew concerned by the interest in human ways. The dragons sensed tension growing, followed Kira everywhere. Protective alert. A younger council member visited Kira, privately expressed interest in learning more about humans. Their connection to each other, to other species, seemed source of strength. Elves had lost in their isolation. The dragons accepted this. Elf allowed him to touch their scales, a sign of trust. Kira rarely witnessed. Lyra recovered enough to leave medical facilities, returned to their shared dwelling. The dragons celebrated, flying in joyous circles around her. She too had been changed by the human medicine, by Kira's stories. She suggested something radical, that they should invite Beth to visit their world, show her elven hospitality. Kira hesitated knowing the council would never approve. Yet the idea took root, grew stronger with each passing day. The dragons sensed her thoughts, chirped in apparent agreement, their intelligence always surprising even Kira EOF. Cat, Home, Claude, Elf, Dragon, Story, Part 3. MD, EOF, 3 cycles passed since Kira's return. Lyra regained full strength. The disease vanished from their clan thanks to the sunburst plants. Kira continued her duties as forest guardian, but found herself changed by her Earth visit. The dragons too seemed different, more expressive, more willing to interact with other elves. The council watched Kira with suspicion. Her reports of human generosity contradicted centuries of elven belief that all species acted from self-interest always. Lyra supported her sister, encouraged her to share human stories. The dragons became celebrities among younger elves, who had never seen such creatures bond so deeply with anyone small gatherings formed. In their dwelling, elves coming to hear about Earth, about humans, about Beth. Kira showed recordings from her wrist device, images of Earth landscapes, Beth, other humans. The dragons recognized these images, chittered excitedly, flying to the display, touching it with their snouts. One night as stars appeared above crystal towers, Lyra spoke the thought growing between them. We should go back to Earth, thank Beth properly. The dragons perked up at these words, their wings fluttering in apparent agreement. Kira hesitated. The council had forbidden further contact with Earth, fearing human influence on elven society. Yet she could not forget her debt to Beth. The friendship freely offered. The dragons sensed her conflict landed on her shoulders, offering silent support. A young council member named Arlen visited frequently, asking questions about Earth humans, their customs, their connections to each other. He seemed particularly interested in human creativity, their art, music, stories. The dragons accepted him readily. Unusual for the cautious creatures, Arlen confided that some younger council members questioned ancient policies of isolation. Others resisted, threatened punishment for those promoting human ways. The divide grew wider with each passing day. Kira made her decision. She would return to Earth with Lyra, show her sister the world that saved her. The dragons chittered approval, sensing adventure ahead. Arlen warned of consequences but offered help. A small scout ship, rarely used, could be borrowed. Lyra prepared, gathering gifts for Beth, items of elven craft. The dragons grew excited, barely sleeping, flying in constant circles around the sisters' dwelling. Kira recorded a message for the council explaining their journey, seeking understanding, not forgiveness. Under cover of night, they departed, Arlen providing access codes. The dragons curled together in a special compartment designed for them. The ship slipped past orbital defenses, headed for Earth. The journey would take 6 cycles. The sisters spent time planning their approach, how to find Beth, how to thank her properly. The dragons emerged from their compartment once clear of the homeworld, flying freely through the ship, inspecting every panel console with curious eyes. Halfway to Earth, ship sensors detected pursuit. A council vessel, larger, faster, gaining quickly. Kira pushed engines beyond safety limits. The dragons sensed danger, grew agitated, flying in tight formations around the cabin. Lyra monitored communications channels, heard council demands for their return, threats of exile, permanent separation from clan. The dragons screeched at this, landing on control panels as if understanding the danger. The sisters exchanged looks, knowing they had crossed a boundary that could not be uncrossed. Earth appeared on view screens, beautiful blue-green against black space. The council ship still behind them, but distance growing. The dragons pressed against windows, chirping at sight of the planet that had changed their companions. The sisters guided their ship toward the continent where Beth lived, sensors scanning for her location. The dragons grew increasingly excited, sensing their destination approaching. Kira felt strange mixture of fear and anticipation. Would Beth welcome their return? Would she understand what their journey meant? They landed in forest near Beth's dwelling, ship cloaked from human detection. The dragons burst from opening doors, flying in wide circles above trees, chittering joyfully. Kira and Lyra stepped onto Earth soil together. The younger elf gasped at sensation of wind, natural air, the sense of growing things. The dragons returned, landed on sisters' shoulders, leading way through trees toward human settlement. The council ship remained in orbit, unable to follow without detection by human authorities. The sisters had small window of opportunity before facing consequences. Beth was in her garden, tending plants when Kira and Lyra appeared at forest edge. The dragons announced their arrival, with happy screeches flying ahead to circle the human. Beth looked up, her face transforming with surprised joy. The dragons landed before her, dancing in excited circles. Kira and Lyra approached slowly, uncertain of welcome. Beth ran toward them, arms open, tears streaming down face. "You came back," she cried. "I never thought I would see you again." The dragons chirped loudly, flying in tight circles around the three females. Inside Beth's dwelling, Lyra thanked the human for saving her life. The dragons explored remembered spaces, chittering at familiar objects. Beth prepared food, listened as sisters explained their journey, the risk they had taken. The human grew concerned, hearing of council pursuit of potential punishment. Both sisters assured her the choice had been worth making. The dragon sensed tension, landed on Beth's shoulders, offering comfort. She accepted with gentle touches to their scales. Beth suggested solution. The sisters could stay on Earth. Council would not risk exposure to retrieve them. Lyra loved this idea, eyes wide with possibilities. Kira hesitated, torn between worlds. The dragons watched this exchange, heads tilted in apparent understanding. Beth spoke of her land, its space home she could share. The sisters could teach her of stars, she could teach them of Earth. The dragons chirped approval of this plan, flying between three females, creating connections with their movements. Night fell, stars appearing above Beth's dwelling. The council ship would be searching, tracking the sisters' location. The dragons grew restless, sensing danger approaching. Beth suggested they move to her friend's cabin in mountains, more remote, safer from detection. The sisters agreed, gathered few belongings. The dragons stayed close, protective, alert. Beth drove them along dark roads, trees giving way to rocky slopes. The cabin appeared small, wooden against mountainside, unlike crystal towers of home, yet somehow right. The dragons flew ahead, inspecting surroundings, declaring territory safe in their own way. Days passed in mountain hideaway. The sisters learned human ways, cooking, cleaning, living without technology. Beth learned of stars, distant worlds, elven customs. The dragons thrived in mountain air, growing slightly larger, their scales brighter. Each day brought council ship closer, sensors seeking signal from sisters' ship. Kira monitored their approach, knowing decision point neared. The dragons sensed her tension, stayed close, offering silent support. Lyra and Beth grew closer, sharing stories, laughter, creating friendship that bridged worlds. One morning, Kira woke to dragons' agitated behavior. They sensed something approached. The sisters and Beth watched sky as small craft appeared, hovering above cabin. Not council ship, different, unknown. The dragons formed protective circle around three females ready to defend. A hatch opened. Arlen appeared. The dragons relaxed, recognizing friend. He jumped to ground, approached quickly. Council divided. He explained. Younger members staged protest policies, changing invitation extended. Sisters could return without punishment. Humans no longer considered threat. Beth could accompany them. First official human visitor to Elven world. The dragons celebrated this news, flying in complex patterns around cabin. Beth stood shocked by invitation. The sisters explained significance of moment change in centuries of policy. The dragons landed on Beth's shoulders, chirping encouragement. She hesitated, overwhelmed by possibility of seeing stars up close. Kira assured her safe return whenever she wished. The dragons sensed decision made before Beth spoke, chirped approval. She nodded, accepting invitation, packed small bag of belongings, photographs of family, friends to share. With New World, they boarded Arlen's craft, leaving Mountain Sanctuary. The dragons explored new ship, chittering at different design technology. Beth watched Earth fade from viewports, tears mixed with smile. The sisters held her hands, offering comfort. Understanding the dragons created bridge between them, landing one on each female shoulder. Their journey to stars began. Beth first, human ambassador to Elven world. the dragons leading way into new future, where different species might learn from each other, boundaries between worlds dissolving with each passing moment. Yoff. Cat, Home, Claude, Elf, Dragon Story, Part 4, MD, Eof. The journey to the elven homeworld took 8 Earth days. Beth spent hours staring at stars, learning constellations from elven perspective. The dragons rarely left her side, sensing her mixture of excitement, fear. They seemed to grow during journey, their wingspans increasing slightly, scales developing deeper colors. Kira explained space travel affected them, accelerated growth patterns. Beth marveled at creatures so responsive to environment, so connected to companions. Lyra taught Beth elven language basics. The dragons chirped along, appearing to mimic sounds, looking between females with intelligent eyes. Arlen explained political situation awaiting them. The council remained divided, but younger members gained influence. Beth's arrival would be controversial, symbolic. Many elves curious about humans, their reported generosity, others fearful of change to ancient ways. The dragons sensed tension in these conversations, staying closer. To Beth, protective Kira worried about reception, but Lyra remained optimistic, convinced their peoples needed this connection. The dragons' behavior supported this view. Their increased size strength, suggesting importance of mission, the elven homeworld, appeared through viewports, crystal cities gleaming against violet skies. Beth gasped at sight, unlike anything on Earth. The dragons pressed against windows, chirping excitedly, recognizing home yet sensing momentous change. Arlen guided ship toward smaller city, avoiding central council location. A group waited at landing area, mostly younger elves curious about human visitor. The dragons flew protective circles as ramp lowered. Beth stepped onto alien soil. First human to visit elven world. The waiting crowd murmured at sight of her at dragons larger, now flying confidently around human visitor. Arlen led them to prepared dwelling, circular crystal structure, unlike angular elven architecture. The dragons explored immediately, claiming perches. Near ceiling, Beth stood in center, overwhelmed by reality of alien world. The sisters explained features of dwelling technology, food preparation. The dragons demonstrated some functions, flying to panels, activating systems with gentle touches of claws outside. Curious elves gathered, respecting boundary but watching dwelling with intense interest. The dragons hissed occasionally when observers moved too close. Beth tried elven greetings through windows, received hesitant responses. Word spread quickly of human arrival. Council demanded meeting Arlen. Arranged formal gathering in neutral location. The dragons refused to be separated from Beth, accompanied group to council chamber. Their size now impressive, wingspan equal to Beth's height. The council members, 12 ancient elves, sat in circular formation. Beth entered with sisters, dragons flying above them. The eldest spoke, demanded explanation for human presence. Beth's primitive species had no place among advanced elves. The dragons screeched at these words, landing protectively beside Beth. Kira explained healing plants. Beth's generosity that saved many elven lives. Lyra spoke of human friendship connections without advantage. The dragons emphasized points with synchronized movements, flying between speakers, creating visual representation of bonds. The council listened, some dismissive, others thoughtful. Beth stood tall, spoke carefully, and practiced elven phrases. She offered friendship between worlds, knowledge exchange without expectation of return. The dragons chirped approval, landing on her shoulders, their increased size making statement. Council members whispered among themselves, divided in response. Some saw opportunity, others threat. Elder member approached. Beth studied, her with ancient eyes. The dragons watched alert, ready to protect. That night, gathering formed at their dwelling. Young elves brought food gifts, questions. The dragons greeted visitors, allowed careful touches from respectful elves. Beth shared earth, stories, photographs, music. The dragons responded especially to music, flying in patterns matching rhythms. Kira translated, helping bridge communication gaps. Lyra encouraged questions, cultural exchange. The dragons demonstrated intelligence solving. Puzzles elves brought, participating in conversations through chirps movements. Elder council members observed from distance, noting interactions, reporting back to divided council days past. Beth explored Elven City, accompanied always by sisters and dragons. She learned customs technology history, shared human perspectives, emotions, connections. The dragons grew further, their colors, deepening intelligence expanding. They began forming sounds closer to words, single syllables repeated with clear meaning. Elven scientists requested opportunity to study dragons, noting unprecedented development. Beth agreed only if creatures showed willingness. The dragons seemed eager for interaction, flying to research center without hesitation, demonstrating abilities communicating through combination of sounds, movements. Touch Council debate continued, some arguing for expanded human contact, others for Beth's immediate return to Earth. The dragons' behavior became focus of argument. Their accelerated growth. Development suggested importance of human connection. Something beyond elven understanding. Arlen reported debates to sisters and Beth. The dragons listened with apparent comprehension, chirping comments at key points. Beth worried about causing division. In elven society, Kira assured her change was necessary, evolution of their isolated culture. Lyra agreed, pointing to dragons as evidence of positive transformation. Their continued growth response to cross-species connection proved benefits. Research center made breakthrough. Dragons communicated through frequency patterns undetectable to elven or human ears. Their intelligence matched 7-year-old children, continuing to develop rapidly. Their connection to Beth's sisters facilitated development across species boundaries. The dragons demonstrated this, immediately forming complex sounds, directing them at Beth, who felt strange resonance. Understanding beyond words. Council members visited research center, observed phenomena. The dragons performed, willingly showing abilities solving increasingly complex problems, communicating through sounds, movements, mental impressions. Beth received message from Earth friends worried about extended absence. She needed to return, explain situation. The dragons, sensed her decision before announced, became agitated, flying in tight circles around her. The sisters understood but worried about Council using opportunity to prevent return. Arlen suggested compromise. Beth would return temporarily with Kira, while Lyra remained with Dragons. Council agreed, seeing opportunity to study human world through official ambassador. The dragons resisted, plan refused separation. Eventually agreed, when Beth promised short absence, return with more humans. The Council reluctantly approved. Expanded contact, limited controlled group preparations began for Earth journey. Kira and Beth gathered information technology gifts. The dragons selected one from pair to accompany them. Ember, now size of large eagle communication. Skills most developed. Spark would remain with Lyra, continue research participation. The separation of dragons first in their lives created visible distress. Intense chirping communication between them lasting full day. Human and elves respected. Process allowed dragons. Private communication. Council provided diplomatic vessel larger, more comfortable than scout ship. Beth recorded messages for Earth authorities explaining first contact situation. The dragons watched process, adding chirps at specific points, seemingly offering commentary. Departure day arrived. Beth, Kira, and Ember boarded diplomatic vessel. The dragons, still distressed at separation from twin, but committed to mission. Spark and Lyra watched from observation deck, communicating through mental images, feelings. The Council provided official documents declaring Beth first human ambassador to Elven world, granting her authority to establish limited diplomatic relations. The dragons' position remained undefined, yet central observers noted their role in facilitating communication understanding between species. The ship departed Ember, watching homeworld fade, pressing against viewport, emitting soft sounds Kira recognized as morning. Beth comforted Dragon with gentle touches. Promises of quick return. Earth authorities received advanced communication, prepared for arrival. United Nations assembled emergency session. The Dragon grew increasingly excited as Earth appeared on viewports, flying in tight circles, communicating. Through complex sounds, Earth scientists would be amazed by Dragon's development intelligence. Beth prepared explanations, introductions. The ship entered orbit, awaiting clearance. Ember pressed against viewport, chirping at sight of blue planet. The Dragon had grown during journey. Wingspan now impressive, 7 feet. Communication skills advancing hourly. Kira monitored council communications, noting continued debate about wisdom of expanded contact. The dragon seemed aware of political implications, chirped comments when certain transmissions received landing coordinates directed them to neutral territory United Nations headquarters. New York Ember grew agitated as ship descended atmosphere surrounding vessel. The dragon communicated concern about human reaction to appearance. Kira assured dragon of protection diplomatic status. Beth suggested temporary size reduction technology allowing dragon to appear less threatening during initial meetings. Ember agreed, reluctantly submitted to procedure reducing impressive size to that of housecat. The ship landed on dedicated platform. World leaders waiting. United Nations. Secretary General stepped forward as door opened. Beth emerged with Kira and small dragon perched on shoulder first. Official meeting between human and elven representatives facilitated by dragon, whose intelligence continued evolving, whose destiny became increasingly. Catty Rear Home, Claude, Elf Dragon Story Part 5. Mendikakioff, the United Nations Assembly fell silent as Beth introduced Kira and Ember. The dragon perched regally on Beth's shoulder, small size belying true nature. Earth leaders stared in amazement at Elf. At dragon, Beth explained medical emergency that led to first contact, the generosity that built bridge between worlds. Ember chirped at key moments, emphasizing points with wing movements. The Secretary General welcomed visitors officially. Ember studied human with intelligent eyes, chirping response that Kira translated as greeting of equals. The assembly erupted in questions. Dragons, elves, space travel. Beth maintained calm, explained temporary nature of visit, need to establish communication, protocols. The dragon watched proceedings, head tilting at diplomatic language, occasionally making sounds Kira recognized as commentary, perhaps humor. Private meetings followed. Beth, Kira, and Ember with selected Earth officials. The dragon remained in reduced form, observing interactions, recording information. Kira presented official invitation for diplomatic mission to Elven world. The dragon chirped approval, adding sounds. Kira translated as encouraging cooperation. Beth shared knowledge gained. During her visit, the dragon demonstrated intelligence solving complex puzzles. Officials presented performing calculations faster than computers. Earth scientists requested opportunity to study. Dragon Ember agreed with specific limitations. The dragon communicated boundaries clearly through combination of sounds, mental impressions. Officials noted dragon's centrality to proceedings, facilitating understanding. Despite having no official role, news spread globally of elven visitors, and remarkable. Dragon media demanded interviews. Beth arranged limited exposure. Kira explained elven culture technology. The dragon participated actively, responding to questions with chirps movements. Scientists noted accelerated development in dragon's communication. Skills intelligence expressed by Earth atmosphere. Contact with multiple humans seemed to stimulate growth. Officials worried about implications. The dragon sensed concern, communicated understanding of caution, need for measured approach. Beth visited family friends, introducing Kira and Ember. The dragon charmed Beth's loved ones, winning support for continued relations. Her parents especially welcomed elf visitor, thanked her for friendship with their daughter. The dragon formed special connection, with Beth's younger brother communicating through mental images, emotions beyond words. Earth Week passed. Delegation toured major cities. Ember growing despite size limitation technology. The dragon observed Earth cultures, environments with intense interest, communicating observations to Kira Beth through complex frequency patterns. Elven Council sent regular updates, continued debate about expanded contact. Some wanted immediate recall, others saw opportunity in developing relationship. The dragon monitored transmissions, adding chirped commentary that Kira found increasingly insightful. Occasionally humorous Earth officials prepared delegation to visit Elven world, carefully selected representatives from diverse nations. The dragon participated in selection process, indicating preferences through reactions to candidate profiles. Beth wondered at dragon's involvement, its role expanding beyond companion to active participant in diplomatic process. Departure day arrived. Earth delegation boarded Elven vessel. Ember resumed full-size impressive wingspan stretching across cabin. The dragon greeted Earth representatives individually, establishing connections through brief mental contact. Kira explained dragons' communication abilities, developing beyond elven understanding. The vessel departed Earth representatives, watching blue planet fade from viewports. The dragon moved among them, offering comfort, through gentle mental touches, sharing memories of stars. Space beauty. The journey would take 8 Earth days' time for humans to prepare for alien world. The dragon participated in orientation sessions demonstrating elven technology, customs communication protocols. Earth representatives noted dragon's central role, unofficial, yet essential translator between species, facilitator of understanding. Lyra and Spark waited at landing area with Arlen-selected council members. The dragons reunited immediately, flying in synchronized patterns, communicating through complex sounds. Mental images. Earth representatives watched in amazement as dragons performed aerial dance above Crystal City. Beth introduced delegates to waiting elves. The council members maintained formal distance, but younger elves approached openly curious. The dragons returned, landing near humans, creating bridge between species. Earth delegation followed Arlen to prepared accommodations, larger version of circular dwelling designed for human comfort. The dragons established perches throughout structure, clearly considering themselves guardians of both species. Formal council meeting scheduled for following day. Earth representatives prepared presentations. The dragons worked through night with Beth, Kira, Lyra, creating visual displays combining Earth, elven communication styles. Morning arrived. Dragons led procession to council chamber, their increased size presence commanding respect. The eldest council member opened session with formal greeting. The dragons responded with synchronized flight, patterned sounds that resonated through chamber. Earth delegates presented offers of friendship, knowledge exchange. The dragons emphasized key points, with movements, chirps, mental impressions, directed at council members. Debate followed, some elders resistant to change, others seeing opportunity. The dragons participated actively, their intelligence communication skills clearly beyond previous understanding. Research Center invited Earth scientists to observe dragons' development. The creatures demonstrated problem-solving abilities, mathematical calculations exceeding both human and elven parameters. The dragons communicated through multiple channels, simultaneously, sounds, physical movements, mental impressions, frequency patterns. Scientists from both worlds noted accelerated evolution occurring through cross-species contact. The dragons seemed aware of their unique position, chirped comments that translated as humorous observations about both species' limitations. Council members observed sessions with increasing interest. The dragon's intelligence growth suggested possibility beyond current understanding, potential bridge not just between elves-humans, but perhaps to something new. Evolution accelerated by connection cooperation days, past filled with diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges. The dragons remained central to all interactions, their size intelligence continuing to increase. Their communication abilities expanded, allowing complex concept translation between species. Earth delegates noted dragons' tendency to correct misunderstandings before they developed, anticipating communication problems. The council debated dragons' role status within developing diplomatic framework. The creatures themselves seemed unconcerned, with official designation content to facilitate connection understanding between worlds. Their behavior suggested agenda, beyond simple diplomatic relations, purpose emerging through interaction, observation, learning from both species. Final council session before Earth delegation departure. The dragons entered chamber without human or elven companions, positioned themselves center of circular space. The council fell silent as creatures began complex communication, combination of sounds, movements, mental projections. The dragons spoke for first time in recognizable words, combining elven-human languages, creating hybrid communication. Both species understood message. We serve connection. We bridge worlds. We grow through understanding. Elves, humans, stronger together than separate. Knowledge shared creates new possibilities. The council members, humans, sat stunned by demonstration. The dragons continued. We choose role as facilitators, guardians of cooperation. Our evolution depends on continued connection, as does future of both species. The Council voted to establish permanent diplomatic mission between worlds. Earth delegation returned home with 2 elven representatives. The dragons selected 2 younger members of growing population to accompany, mission dragons now breeding, producing offspring that developed rapidly. Earth atmosphere. The original pair, Ember and Spark, remained with Beth sisters serving as primary facilitators between species. Their intelligence continued expanding communication, abilities developing beyond scientific understanding. The Council created new designation for dragons, Guardians of Cooperation, acknowledging their essential role in bridging worlds. The dragons accepted title with characteristic sounds that translated as amused tolerance. Their focus remained on practical facilitation of understanding, not official recognition. Years passed. Diplomatic relations flourished. Knowledge exchange benefited both worlds. The dragon's population grew 37 individuals, of varying ages, sizes, each connected to network of shared communication. Human and elven scientists studied dragons' development, noted emergence of abilities beyond either species, comprehension. The creatures maintained independence while serving. Connection between worlds. Beth, Kira, and Lyra traveled between planets, maintaining friendship that started process. The original dragons, Ember and Spark, now massive wingspan, 20 feet, intelligence immeasurable, remained with them, facilitating continued cooperation. Between worlds, stars, dragons flew, carrying messages, building understanding. Their evolution product of generosity, kindness freely given. Beth never imagining when offering help to strange elf with tiny dragons that her actions would change universe. Dragons watching stars, understanding patterns, connections. Humans, elves could not yet comprehend, patiently guiding.